Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Hey guys, what's up? Amir, Reiter, Transform Sales Podcast, software demo review series where we try to save you a bunch of time by creating very specific demos for very specific listings with use cases. And today, Frank Sondors is our guest. He is the CEO of Salesforge. You might also recognize Frank because he's got InfoForge and a few other products that are in the business of helping people make money. Frank, what's up, man? How are you? Appreciate you joining again.
Hey, Amir. Thanks for having me again for another session. Frank run a few softwares out there, helping essentially businesses to deliver a unique email to every single recipient, but also staying out of spam at the same time. So to really solve that, we need a few softwares to achieve that. So that's exactly what we do. So really happy to be here and kind of chat a bit about Salesforge.
Awesome. So let's talk about like a specific use case, right? Let's talk about how B2B companies use Salesforge to deliver cold email, high volume cold email without hitting the spam box. A lot of people know that emails changed, Outlook and Gmail put new rules. Look, guys, if your emails don't get opened, they don't convert, right? It's real simple. So obviously before Salesforge, everybody would be emailing thousands of emails through one domain. They get spam, blacklisted. After you guys, now they can list, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about that transformation, right? What people get before versus after.
Yeah, so sending emails maybe a couple of years ago was like super easy. You could be blasting emails from your primary domain, but it's just not a case anymore these days because essentially Gmail, like I said, Gmail Outlook is cracking down. So you need to be essentially sending emails to what's called secondary domains, but you also need to be using a sending software that enables you to hook up essentially these unlimited domains and mailboxes and essentially dilute your sending across all these domains. That's exactly what Salesforge does. Unlike other players in the market where you typically have to pay literally for one single seat where you can literally hook up like one or two mailboxes, maybe 10. But like in my case, in my own account, I currently have 700 mailboxes that are hooked up. And this is literally just for one single user. You could also ship the team, right? So, but just to give you an idea, you are diluting. And essentially cold emailing these days, or essentially sending emails to another prospect, it's not as simple as it used to be. So it's pretty much as complex as running Google Ads campaigns these days. Just the difference is, if you're failing essentially in the world of cold email, it's not going to cost you as much as with Google Ads. So it is very complex. So it's not just about, hooking up multiple domains, but it's also doing what's called email warm-up. It's building up the reputation of these domains. You also want to be making sure you're cleaning your list within the software. You're using what's called dynamic IPs. You're rotating mailboxes. You're using what's called spin tags or using AI to really work on the copy. So there's a lot of things that need to happen from a sending standpoint. And there's not that many softwares really that specialize on deliverability because for many companies, for a few kind of the major players in the market, the way that they look at the deliverability as a topic, it's your problem to be solved, right? So they essentially leave this sort of, the topic for the customers to just solve. Whereas the way we look at email deliverability is we really own the problem. We help our clients to solve that problem. So really the software here, which in this case, Salesforge, right, tries to really maximize the probability of landing in the primary, doing a lot of different things. So the space has evolved, and we bet that Gmail and Outlook will just keep on introducing new restrictions. So you should be definitely, using one of the latest gen softwares out there really to maximize your deliverability. Yeah.
That makes sense. So before Salesforge, right, you could deliver emails at a higher volume. There's less rules, less competition, and people are getting delivered, right? And then before you guys, companies would have to almost have like an email engineer in-house to do all of these, little demarc settings, these rotations, these just be up to date with all the latest ways of playing within the rules. But now with Salesforge, you don't have to have a wizard. You can just have a license and it's all baked into your platform. Make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. How do you feel about showing us a little bit of a screen share just about how a B2B seller who wants to send high volume cold email and not land in spam can use your system?
Yeah, let's go for it. So here you're seeing one of my many workspaces. So the beauty about Salesforge is you can have unlimited workspaces. So this is Salesforge One, the first ever workspace of Salesforge, but you can create a bunch of other workspaces, whether you're an agency and you're creating a workspace for another client, or if you're just a company, maybe creating that for another employee or for another team. But yeah, the beauty about our product, which actually doesn't exist in any other product in this space, is the ability essentially to get unlimited workspaces, where a lot of other sort of companies typically charge you for that. But essentially, once you have your workspace set up, what you want to do is you want to hook up your mailboxes. You want to click on Add Mailbox. You can use our own infrastructure, whether that's InfoForge or MailForge. You can hook up Gmail accounts, Office 365, or any other really infrastructure. And then once you hook that up, you want to be warming up, and actually for at least a couple weeks up to a month, depending on your ICP, so ideal customer profile. However, you can see we have here 694 email accounts hooked up, and all these accounts have been warmed up. And today I'm sending 0 emails.
For those listening, actually refers to a process of sending emails and having them open and respond to, so that an email provider can identify you as not a spammer or a cold email sender, what they're looking for. So just for anybody listening, keep going, Frank. My apologies. I want to add that there.
Sure. Yeah. So warm-up is like super important, and it always has to be on. A lot of people typically ask me, Frank, can I just turn the warm-up off after a couple of weeks or 4 weeks? And the answer is no. Warm-up always has to be on. And the reason why you're also doing warm-up is not just to build up the reputation of these domains for the first sort of 2 to 4 weeks, but you also want to make sure that you always have a healthy engagement essentially with these domains, because one of the reasons why your availability will tank is if your engagement rate of your domains is really low. What is low is like below 10%, right? So if you if you're always at below 10%, it's pretty bad for you. So to kind of boost those sort of reply rates or engagement rates in those mailboxes, you want to be doing what's called email warm-up, and it always has to be on. And essentially, you're sending emails back and forth in different languages, which is unique to us, with other businesses that are hooked up to Salesforge.
Cool.
And then, whenever you're engaging with any of your prospects, we do also what's called inbox rotation. So we randomly pick a mailbox and we assign that to a contact. So let's think of it this way. So let's say for contact 1, we're going to use mailbox 1. For contact 2, mailbox 2. For contact 3, mailbox 3. So by randomly assigning the contacts to every single mailbox, that randomization also ensures that you stay out of spam a bit more as well. Now, while you're waiting for the warm-up to complete, you want to be uploading your contacts into the contacts database. You can have unlimited contacts in Salesforge. Something that many softwares don't support actually do cap you as to how many contacts you can have in the database. In our case, it's unlimited. And when you upload a list of contacts, you would typically assign a custom tag, and you can have any sort of custom tags that are set in place. And then you would use those tags then to assemble your audience when it comes to sequence creation. If you're looking to leverage our AI capabilities, where we can craft a unique email to every single recipient, the way we do that is we match what we call the seller and the buyer data. So the buyer data is essentially our potential buyer data, where we programmatically go on the web and just fetch that data, say from the email domain of the customer. So here we have, let's say, Dennis, that works at socialstrategy1.com. So in real time, we have the ability to access the website and have a look, what does Dennis's company actually do? And we can do also the same thing with LinkedIn as well. So we can essentially programmatically enter the LinkedIn URL of Dennis and check out, what do we see there on, as his headline, the about section, the current title, whole job description, whole job history, and really leverage that information to then craft a short, snappy email as the initial email of the sequence, helping you sell your product or your service. So we have 3 products. So if you just click on one, let's just click on Salesforge. So we've got the product name, the industry, ICP, what's the pain that we're solving, what's the solution that's an offer, and what's the cost in action. So the cost of doing nothing but a pain and a problem. And that's something that you can do in multiple different languages, whether you are in South America, like Amir is right now, and you want to be writing emails in Spanish, Portuguese, and stuff like that, or some other European country like France, right? So you can essentially insert the French version of the same product, and essentially our system is able then to do computations in those languages. So
correct me if I'm wrong for those listening. So your system, besides from warming up and managing the email boxes, it's also able to help with the content and randomizes the body and the subject line, but it does it with context by actually analyzing the website from the email address or the LinkedIn profile.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the future, we're going to have other data sources like CRM data, so your own kind of data, and a bunch of other data sources that we're looking to include. But right now, there's a couple which are typically the most important ones. Now, so yeah, the system then programmatically matches these data sets, what we call the sell data and the buy data, and then we do a computation on top of that in any language. And this is what allows us to deliver a unique email to your to every recipient. So twofold benefit there. One, it improves availability because one of the reasons why your emails may land up as spam is due to templates being sent. So essentially, if a lot of people report your emails as spam, let's say in the Gmail ecosystem, then Gmail learns from that. And it's essentially you start landing in spam, not because of your domain or your IP address, etc., but actually because of your copy. So I want to be making sure that you're essentially sending fresh content or as fresh as it gets. So one way to do that is leveraging AI, right, where every email is unique as an initial email of the sequence. But there's also another way, which is what's called spin tags, where you're randomizing the content. You're saying the same thing, like, hey, hi, hello. Now, the other part here, like super important, and that's the direction that we're moving. We're also just about to roll out our autonomous sales capabilities, where the software can be operated on autopilot, literally end-to-end prospecting, which is fully automated. And that's something that we're rolling out shortly. But essentially, what you're seeing here in front of you is where we have updated some documentation about essentially our business. And then our system essentially learns from that documentation and is able then to craft a lot more better replies and also additionally also really great email copies.
So you're able to teach the system about your business so that it complements its ability to also use what it knows about you with what it learns, right? So that the emails become even more personalized and effective.
Yes, exactly. So when let's say prospect replies back to us, right, then the system is actually will be able to on autopilot reply back to the prospect all the way down to actually booking a meeting. So this is something that you'll assemble in the product section, and then here we're seeing sort of a bunch of different campaigns. A lot of sort of draft campaigns, but I've been reaching out to a lot of people. You can see I go typically into thousands of contacts. You can see my bounce rates. You can see that I typically don't track open rates and click rates because it does harm your deliverability. Yeah. And you can see my open rates as well. Sometimes I do, like once a quarter, just check my essentially status of my infrastructure. But yeah, you click on a sequence creation, you go through the whole flow. I'm not going to go through the whole flow, but I'm just going to explain briefly. You name the sequence, select the product and the language, select the contacts based on the tags. Then you clean the list. You do what's called email validation or email verification. Then you build out a sequence. Typically, I recommend maximum of 3 email steps. Reason for that is the probability of reply after the third email just doesn't warrant sending another email, especially considering that you should be only sending about 30 cold emails per mailbox per day. Yep. And then the second reason, of course, is the probability of a user marking you as spam massively increases after the third email.
Yeah, people are annoyed. You have the 7 steps, right? If I don't respond in 2 steps, 3 steps, leave me alone. It's fair. No.
Yeah. But I still see a lot of users sending like 10 emails, and it's like, don't do it, please. So I would say, fire away like a sequence of 2-3 steps over a period of 2 weeks. Then if there's no reply, then only engage after a quarter or so.
Yeah. Here's that I turn off open and click tracking through my HubSpot portal.
Yeah, so I mean, you can, but I mean, I would not typically recommend like open rate and click rate tracking because essentially any form of sort of HTML tracking that you're including, it slightly negatively impacts availability.
This is my guy right now.
So I mean, what I would typically recommend doing is just look at reply rates as the ultimate KPI. And then from those replies that you're getting, you typically want to have 20% positive reply rate from the total replies. So meaning, if you get 10 replies back from prospects, then 2 out of the 10 should be positive. That's really what's called a good benchmark.
Look, at the end of the day, like you're going to see them visit your website, like they're vanity metrics and they hurt, right? So that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Then if you are using AI, then you can preview every email if you want to. Some people, want to have full control and every email before it goes out, you can do that. Typically, I just click a single button and then it all goes out. And then, you have the schedule settings and that's it. Bam, you just launch your sequence and then all the replies across all the mailboxes will land in what's called the Prime box. Somebody's messaging me here about some stuff. So actually somebody's pitching me or prospecting me and we also capture those emails. So here we can mark a conversation as negative or positive. We can also mark it as unread, add the individual to do not contact list, add to another sequence, or what people sometimes refer to as a subsequence, then delete the thread, reply back, and that's about it. So this is really what you do on a daily basis. And then you also may be checking out other products that we have down there below. That's it.
I'm looking forward to we're planning on using you guys as well. So I'm looking forward to getting those ramped up. Just question, and it has a lot to do, I don't want to make this about me, but if I wanted to, how long does it take to warm up? Let's call it 500 mailboxes. If I wanted to start emailing by Jan 1st, would I want to engage with you guys in September, October? What's like the best date?
No, I mean, as I mentioned, so if the warm up is about 2 to 4 weeks, then the number of mailboxes makes no difference. You can spin up, if you're using one of our infrastructure products, you can spin up literally about 5-10 minutes, any volume of mailboxes and domains. And then, the step that you can't really skip is the warm up step, because it's about, building up that reputation of the brand new domains that you just bought. So you don't want to be skipping. But, if you are reaching out to larger, like let's say Fortune 500 companies, if your domain is not even a month old, then a lot of them will block your emails. That's another example of why you need to be warming up for at least a month. But this is when you're reaching out large companies. If you're planning to reach out, a bunch of startups, then 2 weeks is enough.
Makes sense to me. So question, I'm a B2B company, want to ramp up with you guys, want to launch cold email at scale, want to make beat that spam folder, land in the primary. How do leaders who buy your software effectively measure success with your product? Is that a KPI? Is that revenue? What does that look like?
I mean, ultimately it's pipeline generated, but the KPIs that you measure in our system right now is essentially reply rates, positive reply rates. And then we're going to be progressing later down this year towards how many meetings you have been booking. We'll be able to track that within the software. But ultimately, we're all about becoming the number one pipeline generation software out in the market, or an ecosystem of softwares. That's really what we're aiming for. So for now, focusing just fully on email, where you as a human, you're kind of tinkering, doing your own thing. There's some sort of co-pilot experience where you help you generate emails. And it will also offer you within the same environment in a few weeks the ability to do this autonomously with the software that does the whole sort of legwork for you. But then later next year, so we're going to expand into voice and LinkedIn. So the other two channels, which are also super important. Also help the conversion rates.
I want access to the IPO when it happens. From a task deliverable, people setting it up, right? I know you mentioned, obviously, you got to buy emails. You got to warm up for 2 to 4 weeks. Is there anything else involved? Do companies typically need to work with a consultant to implement this? Do they use their staff internally? Like, what does that look like typically?
No, so from our experience, like even interns could be getting this sort of up and running. So that's how easy it is to use. But typically, we work with a lot of SDR teams, sales leaders, startup founders. We also work with agencies that are servicing tens and sometimes hundreds of clients. There's also another agency that services 1,000 clients. So we have different sizes of agencies that work with us. And they're, naturally, your goal, like ultimate actually, goal is to solve your durability and leveraging essentially a single vendor that is able to solve that one big massive problem for you. So this is one kind of
aside from the time it takes to purchase and the 2 to 3 or 4 weeks, it's really designed to be self-serve with a founder who could set it up, or it's all self-explanatory, right? So typically companies can implement it themselves and see they can get from sending no emails to millions, depending on how many domains and mailboxes they buy. Obviously, it's 30 per day per box. So do your math, divide 1 million by 30, and that's the number of inboxes you got. And 2 to 4 weeks, they could be up and running fast. And then even when it comes to writing the sequences, you guys are helping with that, right? So they can kind of get launched. So that makes a lot of sense. Frank, I love what you're building. After this podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about how many licenses we need, because we do need to get cold email going on. But for anybody who's checking this out, obviously, as you know, we are a marketplace, and you can visit you could visit a Salesforge with the link below in the description. But for anybody who wants to kind of follow you, connect with you, where do they find you? Is it LinkedIn? I think it's LinkedIn. I remember.
Yes, it's typically LinkedIn. Yeah.
And he's going to be at SaaStr in a week. So if you are in the Bay Area, you want to definitely meet up with Frank. Frank, I appreciate not only your time to help us with this service listing so that B2B guys can just deliver mass emails without getting spammed and landing in the cold box. And of course, for building the suite of products that you've made to help people scale their businesses more efficiently. Thank you, man.
Cheers, Amir.